Welcome to another episode of House of EDH. Alright, today we're gonna talk about something very exciting. It's the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So I'm sure you guys have already seen some of the cards being spoiled on the internet the last few days. I'm not too sure about you guys, but I'm really excited. So today I'm gonna talk about something that I play a lot. I mean, you have seen some of my other deck tech, you have seen some of the things I talk about, and you will know what is the thing that I'm really excited about is, yes, you got it right, treasures! Okay, so I think Bruno Mars have a song, right? It goes, treasure! Treasure! Alright, so I think Bruno Mars is going to love this set as well. Alright, so without further ado, I'm just going to go right into the very first card I'm going to talk about. It's Jolene The Plundering. Oh, sorry, that's the old one. Jolene The Plunder Queen is the old one, which is apparently my favorite deck. So you can actually find the link on my channel that I talk about the deck tag of Jolene The Plunder Queen. So for this episode, we're going to talk about Jolene Plundering Pugilist. So it's a return of this character, but very interestingly, it's a slightly different version of it. So instead of being a human warrior, it's a human mercenary. One colorless, one red and green. So Jolene, what she does is when she attacks, or when I attack as a player with one or more creature with power 4 or greater, I create a treasure token. So that's not the good part about it. The good part of it is actually the second ability, which is one colorless, one red, sacrifice a treasure. Jolene Plundering Pugilist actually deals 1 damage to any target. So what does that mean? Yes, it's actually a commander sitting, it's an unlimited treasure sitting in your command zone. I mean, in Guru color, it's really simple, which I don't think I need to talk too much about it. It's the Dockside Extortionist as well as the Temur Sabertooth combo, where you can create unlimited treasures and you cast Jolene, and yes, you just won the game. So I'm not too sure if this card is really an upgrade or a downgrade, but I definitely gonna use this as an interchangeable card as my commander for my current Jolene, the Jolene EDH deck. Okay, so that's for Jolene. And the second card we're going to talk about, it's Magda The Hot Master. So as I was saying, right, so all these are the reimagine of some of our favorite commander from the previous set. So what does Magda The Hot Master do? I mean, whenever you commit a crime, create a tapped treasure token. This ability trigger only once each turn. So even if you're going to create multiple crimes. So, oh yes, by the way, what is committing crime, right? So basically, if you target any of your opponent's graveyard, hand, permanent in play, you get to trigger it as committing a crime. So that's the interesting part, but that's not the killer part. The killer part comes in the part where it says, sacrifice 3 treasures and create a 4/4 red scorpion dragon creature token with flying and haste. Activate only as a sorcery. So with this card, I managed to put together with a combo. Yay! We are going to break doubling seasons and parallel lives again. So with Magda in play, with one of my favorite dragon from the CLB set is Ganex Astro Hunter. So every time you crack 3 of the treasures, you're gonna create one of these scorpion dragon, but because of either parallel lives or doubling season, you're gonna create 2 of those dragons, and when they ETB, it will actually trigger Ganex, and you create, instead of 1 treasure or 2 treasures, you can create 4 treasures because of any of the enchantment in play. And with the 4 treasures, you can go ahead and continue to crack the 3 treasures and create 2 more dragons. And the 2 dragons will give you another 4 treasures, netting you 1 additional treasure each time. And you actually have a whole lot of unlimited numbers of dragons as well as treasure token. And the best part is, yay, they are flying and haste. You can basically close up the game like this. So yep, this card is also going into my favorite deck, Jolene, and going to be one of those payout for unlimited treasures. And the next card we're going to talk about, it's Olivia, Opulent Outlaw. I hope I'm reading that right. So it's a 1 colorless red, white and black. It's a flying lifelink, so whenever 1 or more outlaws you control deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. So the outlaws are the assassins, mercenaries, pirates, rogue, warlock and the outlaw. So she's actually one of the face commander for the pre-cons. So for this one, I mean, if you do a quick check, you can actually see that there are plenty of rogues and mercenaries, pirates that actually allows you to trigger the ability. So that itself, if you have Mondrag in play, or you have, for example, Anointed Possession in play, then you can create a lot more of those treasures. And of course, what will happen is that you can actually just throw in the combo for Aggravated Assault, and you can have unlimited combat phase and just win the game like this. And I would just like to do shout out to this additional card as well, which is Kellogg, Dangerous Mind. It's from the Fallout set recently, so it's a first strike haste, so whenever he attacks, it creates a treasure token, and if you sacrifice 5 of those treasures, you can gain control of target creature as long as you control Kellogg, but only activate as sorcery. So with Kellogg, unlimited combat phase, you can actually create a lot as well. Oh yeah, because Kellogg is also a mercenary. Okay, so and also another new card within the set. So it's actually the third and fourth card that I'm talking about. It's actually Orochi Soul River. So it's a 5 colorless and a black. Okay, you can for 3 colorless and a black, you can Nijitsu in. So the ability says whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and manifest the top card of that player's library. So effectively, what you can do here is it reminds me a lot of Grim Hireling, where you can actually create treasure for each of the opponent being damaged, because it's about one or more creature I control, and it's not just Orochi itself. Yep, more treasure, more fun, and you can actually manifest the whole deck of your opponent if for some strange reason their life can't change, right? So that's for the Oliver as well as Orochi. And the next card is Sword of Wealth and Power. If you've been playing this for a while, you should remember the last 2 swords that completed the cycle of Sword of X and Y was the Sword of Once and Future, as well as Sword of Forge and Frontier. And that was the limited by our imagination, where we thought that, it's a 10 card cycle where it's just protection from X and Y color, right? Be it red and green, blue and black, and so on and so forth. But guess what? Wizards of the Coast has outdone themselves one more time. So the equipped creature this time around get +2/+2 and has protection from instants and sorceries. So instead of just being color, it's also card type. So the question here opens up the conversation. Will we see more different kind of swords in the future, where we have maybe protection from creature and equipment, maybe from enchantment and enchantment and something else, right? A vehicle, very awkwardly specific protection. But anyways, to complete and why is it here in this conversation? Because when equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token, and you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell, and you may choose new target of the copy. Regardless of how broken or how good or how bad this card is, I want it because it completes the rest of this deck, and I have a meme deck that just run all the different 10 swords. In fact, I run 11 of them. I run one of the unset sword, which is Sword of Dungeons and Dragon, the one that can create dragon. Yes, it's a rule 0 deck, I know, right? So I think one of the very interesting part about this Sword of Wealth and Power is that it's actually part of the big score cards, which belongs to this special subset of their own set symbol, set code, frame on a selected card, and they are standard legal as well. So there's a total of 30 mythic rares from this big score that you can be found in the any of the packs as well, right? So it can also be featured in the Vault frame, which is another different artwork that they have, right? So they also have this exclusive for the booster pack, which is specially raised foil with the Vault frame can also be found. If I'm not wrong, the raised foil is almost looking like those from the new Capenna, where you have the gold border. So it's really, really very pretty. Based on what I've seen online as well. So those are really, really cool, right? So this is definitely one of those must get for me as well. And the next is Verasa the Silencer. So this is very, very interesting as well. It's a black-green card. It has a Death Touch ability, and whenever a non-token creature and opponent control dies, you may pay 1 colorless, and if you do return that card to the battlefield tab under my control, it's a treasure artifact with tap, sacrifice at 1 mana, which is the normal treasure, but it loses all other card types. And interesting to note about Verasa is that this is the first time that it's not a planeswalker. It's actually a creature that you can use as a commander for your deck. I know it's Golgari, black and green, I don't really care about the treasures. I don't really care about creating a tap treasure, but can you imagine, right? If your whole deck, you just play cards of like removal cards, and what you're getting for 1 mana can be a Shieldred, 1 mana can be an Elish Non, can be one of those huge Waymaker within your opponent's graveyard. And you take a look at this, it also comes with a wanted poster card showcase for this set. Some of our favorite legendary creatures are in the format has become within this wanted poster, so it's really cool. You can see Verasa the Silence, you will see Malcolm the Eye, like, you know, you can really imagine this whole cowboy town where all these wanted individuals have their own nickname. I wonder what will my nickname be if I will be in this Wild West. Next, I would like to talk about Vihan the Gold Walker. Gold Walker? No, there's no L. So it's Vihan the Gold Waker? Okay, Vihan the Gold Waker is a legendary creature costume Marduk, which is the red, white, and black. So other outlaw you control have Vigilance and Haste, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have treasures you control become 3/3 construct assassin artifact creatures in addition to their other types until end of turn. Which means assassin, yes, they are already outlaws, so when they are 3/3 treasures with Vigilance and Haste. So the first card that I thought about with this is actually one of my favorite decks as well, the Hada, Binder of Wills, right? So can you imagine if you play on curve, when you have 3 mana, maybe it's turn 3, Vihan comes into play, and then when it comes to turn 4, the Hada comes in, you activate the minus ability where you review the top 4 cards, dump them into the graveyard, you have 4 treasures in play, they effectively become at the beginning of the combat, right, they just become Assassin's Artifact, where you can have 4 of these 3/3 attacking your opponents, which has like Vigilance and Haste. Effectively, you are just like, at turn 4, you deal 12 damage, and they are still blockers to protect your Dihada. And when the next turn come, you use the plus ability of Dihada, making Vihan indestructible to be a really good blocker, and the 4 of the other treasures you can spend to, you know, cast your other spells, and by the next turn, you can mill and create 4 more treasures, and they are another 4 3/3 creatures. So I think I'm definitely getting this one and adding into my Dihada deck. And next is Govil Hydra. So it's a X and green. It has Vigilance, Trample, Haste, Govine. Sorry, I think I said Govine, but it should be Govin, I think. But hey, guess what? I'm not an educational channel, right? So who am I supposed to get all my pronunciation right anyways? Vigilance, Trample, Haste, Govin, Hydra, not Dragon, sorry. Hydra enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counter on it. And when Govin Hydra dies, you create a number of tap treasure tokens equal to its power. If you ask me, this card reminds me a lot of Bootlegger's Sash, where people was really excited about it in the first place. But if I'm playing green, I really don't need those treasures, and having them coming into play, I mean, yes, I can, you know, have a huge Vigilance, Trample, Haste Hydra is really cool. I can natural order, potentially sack it to get another creature in, and with a lot of tap treasures, but they are still tapped, which means I need to wait for another turn for them to untap before I can use it. So I really I'm not high on this card, although I know Twitter, it's like hyping it, but I guess potentially other format, if you're talking about, you know, going to your local game store for some of the pre-event pre-release game, this is definitely a bomb, right? I mean, when you play pre-release, play limited, you know how important these bombs are in late game, right? Imagine you turn 7, turn 8, where you have 7 mana on the board, when you can just turn the table, tap it, cast it into play, Vigilance, Trample, and Haste, you whack your opponent, and you still have a blocker. You know, talking about it already get me so excited. So yes, remember to check out your companion app to check out your local game store when the pre-release games are, and play Paper Magic, guys. Go and make some new friends. And I think this bomb, I mean, if you draft this, I don't see how you're going to lose your limited. You can walk out of the store like, you know, 3-0, 4-0 easily. So yeah, I'm not huge on this for my commander decks, but this is definitely a bomb for pre-release. Okay, and for the final card is Generous Plunderer, right? So I think this card is very interesting because it's almost like empty treasure. But I would like to give a shout out to it. It's 1 colors and a red is a creature human rogue. It has menace, right? At the beginning of your upkeep, you may create a treasure token. So when you do, target opponent creates a tap treasure token as well. So whenever Generous Plunder attacks, it deals damage to defending player equal to the number of artifact they control. So I think a huge shout out to this card. Is part of the big score as well. So it's part of this 30 mythic that I talk about. So it comes in 2 different art, and this whole vault frame, it's really pretty. It's like Ghost Rider, but with, I don't know, Wild West Ghost Rider. Is that one of those in the lore? I don't know, man. But I guess this card is really interesting because it gives your opponent a tap treasure, and I think there are a lot of ways for us to actually make this unfair for your opponent as well. For example, Vengeful Tracker, right? Whenever an opponent sacrifices an artifact, Vengeful Tracker deals 2 damage to them. So effectively, I'm giving you a treasure, but are you going to spend it? At what cost? Yes, it deals 2 damage to you. And of course, we have some of the cards from the previous sets as well, like a Painful Distributor, where, you know, when an artifact in opponent control is being put into graveyard from the battlefield, Pain Distributor deals 1 damage to that player. And actually, if you take a look at, you know, some of your favorite sites, Scryfall or whatever, you can see that there are a lot more cards like this that you can dive into this mechanic as well. One of my favorite cards, shout out to my good friend James, and we like to use this card. It's called Descent into Avernus, right? So it's an enchantment for 2 colorless and a red. At the beginning of your upkeep, put 2 descent counters on Descent into Avernus. Then each player creates X treasure tokens and descends into Avernus, deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of counters on the card. So effectively, what they're saying is that, you know, at each of my upkeep, everyone will take 2 damage, 4 damage, 6 damage, and so on and so forth. So this is like putting a clock onto yourself. Most of the time when I play this card, I get punished for it because everyone wants to kill me, but I love it because it's so exciting. It's like, oh, I have more mana and I'm always ahead of the curve, right? I'm gonna have the mana before them. And I can actually cast huge spells, and now with this, for them, it's like, do they really want to crack it? Because if they crack it, they're gonna get damage. If they don't, and when Generous Plunderer attacks them, they're gonna take more damage for that as well. And of course, we have Sardian Avenger, which is from the BRC set. So whenever an artifact in opponent control is put into a graveyard, it deals 1 damage as well. But on top of that, it has First Strike and Trample. And when it attacks, it gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of artifact my opponents control. So I mean, that's amazing. And of course, not to forget one of my favorite, Kevin Hot Dragon from Lord of the Ring. So this spell itself costs X less to cast, where X is the greatest number of artifact and opponent controls. So there's no way that they can actually respond and crack the treasure, because when upon casting, the casting cost is already been checked, right? I think so, right? If I'm wrong, tell me on my comment section. Feel free to have a good day and flame me, but I think I'm right. And Flying Trample Haste. So whenever Kevin Hot Dragon deals combat damage to a player, you create a treasure token for each artifact that player controls. So yes, for the third ability, sure, they can, you know, crack the treasure as long as before the damage is dealt, right? So this is really, I think there's a theme here where this Vengeful Tracker can be part of, not Vengeful Tracker, Generous Plunderer can be part of, where you can actually, you know, punish opponent for having more treasures, especially so if you are looking at playing against me, where I have so many of these treasures, Commander. This will definitely be something that makes me feel the pain. Alright, and that's the 9 different cards that I really love from the new set, OTJ, which is the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. So if you guys are really into treasures, you guys should really look at it. I mean, what are cowboys without treasures, right? So I think don't forget to, you know, like I mentioned, join the pre-releases and also get some of this card and upgrade your deck like what I just did, right? I think some of these treasures card really fit well into the decks that I already have. And also not to forget, look out for some of the poster cards, the big score cards. And if you really like this piece of content that you have just watched, you should check out some of the other creators that have also created content about this new set. You can find their links right below at my description. So, and if you like this video, do remember to like, subscribe, turn on notification, whatever like the other YouTubers ask you to do. I'm not really good at that, but yes, please help a brother and do whatever you need to do. And good luck to you guys, and crack some big score cards, wanted poster card. I hope to see you guys at nearest LGS and have fun with this new set. Signing off, and it's House of EDH. Bye bye.